So today we will continue discussing the purport of Srila Prabhupada on Nectar of Instruction, verse 2. I will first repeat the verse again. Atyahara prayashascha prajalapo niyamagraha jnana sangha saudalyam cha sadbir bhaktir vinashati. Translation. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. Omagyanatimarandasya chinanchana shalakya Chakshuran militam yena tasmai sigurave namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarine. So we are continuing discussing the purport by Srila Prabhupada. The main problem confronting the conditioned souls is the repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. In the material world, one has to work for the maintenance of the body and the soul. But how can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness? So this is an important issue which must be very deeply realized, that we are going through this repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he also said to Lord Chaitanya, "Why am I suffering?" He asked, who am I? Why am I suffering? Then, why are these threefold miseries afflicting me? We have discussed these 3-4 miseries before, Adibhaudika, Adhyatmika, was just before, I think, that is threefold miseries, Adhyatmika, Adibhaudika. Yeah. And what's the third one? Adidevika.
Adidevi.
Yeah. So these classes are mentioned here. We discussed them. And these are important questions. Why am I suffering? That the conditioned soul who is suffering, who is in illusion, blames God for his suffering. But the devotee knows, I'm suffering because of my own past misdeeds. That and there's a deep philosophical point here. Sometimes we see good people and they are suffering. That why are good people suffering? It's because in their previous life they were not good people. They that so this is, if we understand this, then that we are suffering because of our own actions in the past. Are we going to do actions now that will cause again suffering? That no. Therefore, the question is asked here: how can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness? So that I act in a way that I don't create reactions anymore. First, that I don't create reactions and that my past reactions are eradicated. And that is Krishna consciousness. Therefore, we must make Krishna the center of our life and do what is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness. That and therefore, in the next item, the next verse will discuss 6 items favorable for the Krishna consciousness, for developing Krishna consciousness. That in this verse, we discussed what's not favorable, that we must give up. So these are important verses. If we follow these first 3 instructions, we adopt a favorable lifestyle for the execution of Krishna consciousness. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Jachnachta karmano yatra lokayam karma bandhana. Bhagavad Gita 3.9. That if you perform sacrifice for me, then you don't get karma bandhana, you don't get reactions. So yes, by that we can understand the difference between a Krishna conscious person and an ordinary person in this world. Externally they do the same thing. A devotee will eat or work, and a non-devotee will also work and eat, but their consciousness and their motivation why they do it is different. That is further explained. Everyone requires possessions such as food grains, clothing, money, and other things necessary for the maintenance of the body. But one should not collect more than necessary of his actual basic needs. If this natural principle is followed, there will be no difficulty in maintaining the body. So understanding this principle is important. So we are part and parcels of Krishna, an insignificant part. So Krishna is the owner of everything. So we are an insignificant part. It means as in a small spark, we have also right to possess, and we have also the right to possess something insignificant, because we are insignificant. And that's called in Sri Upanishad one's quota. Everyone is right on one's quota. Or this one's quota is that what is necessary for the body, for the maintenance of the body. That is what you are. That's what's your right. If you take more than you need for the body, you are taking the quality of someone else. So that is to be learned. We should live for high thinking. Live. Don't eat to live. Well, one should eat to live and not live to eat. That is the point. That just what one's need. Simple living, high thinking. So therefore the lifestyle explained in the Bhagavatam is very simple. In the seventh canto, like you have in the seventh canto, it's explained that Grihastha should live simple, should live from agriculture, cow protection. That's a very simple and peaceful lifestyle. But today we have created so many so many artificial needs and artificial needs, and it causes anxiety, unnecessary anxiety, unnecessary diseases, new diseases come up by this industries, and industries is called Ugra Karma but no, Krishna gives us fresh fruits that grains, everything we need, the basic needs that we do not need to create artificial needs. And but our today's society is based on creating so many needs that one has to drive many miles just to go to work or to go to the shop, and so but yeah, we should learn to live a simple life and so that we have time for spiritual life. This is further explains. So according, yeah, maybe someone can read the next paragraph, which is on the screen.
Sure.
Thank you.
According to nature's arrangement, living entities lower on the evolutionary scale do not eat or collect more than necessary. Consequently, in the animal kingdom, there is generally no economic problem or scarcity of necessities. If a bag of rice is placed in a public place, birds will come to eat a few grains and go away. A human being, however, will take away the whole bag. He will eat all his stomach can hold and then try to keep the rest in storage. According to the scriptures, this collecting of more than necessary, atihara, is prohibited. Now the entire world is suffering because of it.
Yes. There are scriptural injunctions there that, like a brahmachari, should never store any food for later. That and that's, yeah. I remember this is 15 years ago, that or longer. It was during the Bhakti Vaibhav course in Vrindavan. That during that Bhakti Vaibhav course, we were reading, and I think it was in the 11th canto, where it's mentioned that a brahmachari should not, it probably it's also mentioned in the 7th canto in the last chapters, the duties of brahmacharis. There it's mentioned that the brahmacharis should not keep food for later. And Mother Narayani was reading that verse, and before her there was sitting a brahmachari, and this was at the Goshal, at the VHE premises at the Goshal in Vrindavan, and it was sunny outside, so the door was open, and this brahmachari was sitting on the floor just before Mother Narayani, and they had such low tables, and the Bhagavatam was on the table, but under that low table there was a tiffin, and on the tiffin was a banana. And from the moment Mother Narayani read this verse that brahmachari should not keep anything in store for later, a monkey suddenly appeared in the door and came inside and took the banana underneath a little table before the brahmachari and went out. Yes, that I found this interesting. Vrindavan is mystical, as we saw direct application. That, but yes, this is greediness, atyahara, that keeping things in storage for later, oh, of course, according to the situation, that may be a necessity to keep rice for the winter, but not more than needed, not out of greediness. So that is something to be curbed, because this atyahara leads to overeating and leads to disease. Most diseases are there not because one does not eat too much, but because one does not eat enough, but most diseases are there because we eat too much. And that's something very important to consider. A balanced lifestyle. Krishna says in the 6th chapter of the Gita, one should not eat too much, not too less. So that should be a daily practice that a devotee is therefore very sober in his eating. One says a devotee eats frugally, not much, just what's needed. And sometimes it will happen you overeat. Then it's good to skip the next meal. But Srila Prabhupada writes, now the entire world is suffering from it. Because if you take more than you need, you are taking the part of others. That this greediness is a cause of a lot of problems. Greediness, money, sweeter than honey. Everyone wants honey, money. And they do everything to get the money, and they cheat people. We have seen that also in the food industry, processed food, which causes cancer and so on, but still they produce it. That because of greediness, so much suffering is coming. If we are greedy in eating and overeating, then our health is affected. We will suffer. If we are greedy in obtaining money and so on, then we endeavor for it. That will also lead to suffering. Because it creates attachment, unnecessary attachment. One complicates one life, and from one thing comes another. So this atyahara, collecting more than necessary, is a very important item that now collecting and eating more than necessary also causes prayas or unnecessary endeavor. Yeah, to over endeavor for things, material things, you have to spend a lot of time and blood to get it. And when you get it, you become attached and you suffer. But here, Srila Prabhupada writes how we should live. And that I mentioned before in the 7th canto, from the land and the cows. By God's arrangement, anyone in any part of the world can live very peacefully if he has some land and a milk cow. So Lord Krishna himself he appears in the family he appears, and in his first years he is the son of Nanda Maharaj, and he shows how we should live. That there is no need for man to move from one place to another to earn a livelihood, for one can produce food grains locally and get milk from cows. So Srila Prabhupada tells his story of the man, of a little child, 4 or 5 years old, and the child knows his mother, and one day the there's a man, and the child asked, who is this man? And the mother said, oh, this is your father. Because during the first years of the child as a baby and young child, the father was getting up very early in the morning to go to work, and he left before the child got up. And in the evening, when he came back, the child was sleeping. So he didn't see his father until he came at the age of 4 or 5 years old. That, but yes, now they have to travel so many miles just to go to work and then back. That, but if you have land and a cow, you don't move. And I think, like in Deland, you have cows that and land also, if you want that. But if you have cows, you can't leave. You have to take care of the cows. No way. That. But there's no need to go to one place to another. That and it solves all your economic problems. We see Nana Maharaj was very, very rich. That yeah, so by barter of milk products, they got everything they needed. That is real riches. That cows and land. That so fortunately, man has been given higher intelligence for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, for the understanding of God and one's relationship with Him, and ultimately the goal of life, love of God. Love of God. So this is the goal of human life: understanding who we are and reviving our relationship with Krishna and develop love for Krishna. But if one is too engrossed in material activities, one forgets that, and one becomes always in the problem solving mode. So many problems coming from material life. It's unending. That unfortunately, so-called civilized man, not caring for God realization, utilizes intelligence for getting more than necessary and simply eat to satisfy the tongue. That factually, that is the life of the animals. That I, I got a quote here of Prabhupada, but I put it in here. It's from a lecture of Srila Prabhupada. He says, they are like animals. Especially this communist movement is very, very dangerous. It makes big animals. They are already animals. And this movement is making big animals. That's quite a heavy statement. When Srila Prabhupada came to Moscow, he met Professor Potovsky. Professor Potovsky was specialized in analyzing the Vedic scriptures, in Indology they call it. And he said to Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji, after death everything is finished. So if the body is finished, we are finished. This is identification with the body. An animal identifies with the body. If a human being also identifies with the body, it's like an animal. and they are creating, or they are inspiring others also to become big animals, identifying with the body. Like, I'm American, I'm Russian. That's extended bodily consciousness, because his body is born in a certain land. It has a certain nationality. But it is just madness that, like when I'm in Belgium, in Belgium they have a lot of cows also. Unfortunately, they slaughter them. But beautiful cows sometimes. And when you drive on the highway to Paris from Belgium, at certain moments you come in France. And when you enter France, you see the same cows. Are they the same cows? No, one is a Belgian cow, the other is a French cow. And the Belgian cow gives Belgian milk. The other is, and the other cows in France, just at the border, they give French milk. It's completely different. No, it's madness. That it doesn't make sense, all these things. That it's, yes. Mhm. So, unfortunately, so-called civilized men, not caring for God realization, utilize his intelligence for getting more than necessary, and simply eat to satisfy the tongue, to satisfy the body, which we are not. It's a waste of human energy. That can someone read the next chapter?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yes.
All right, let's see. By God's arrangement, there is sufficient scope for the production of milk and grains for human beings all over the world. But instead of using his higher intelligence to cultivate God consciousness, so-called intelligent men misuse their intelligence to produce many unnecessary and unwanted things. Thus, factories, slaughterhouses, brothels, liquor stores are opened. If people are advised not to collect too many goods, eat too much, or work unnecessarily to possess artificial amenities, they think they are being advised to return to a primitive way of life. Generally, people do not like to accept plain living and high thinking. That is their unfortunate position.
Yes. It is said that if one considers, like in Europe, all the money people in Europe spend for cosmetics, if one would, if that money would not be used for cosmetics, that you would have billions of euros, and with that you can feed the entire world practically. There would be no famine. Just by that we are creating an artificial lifestyle that and they think that living from the land and cows, that's primitive. We are going back to the Middle Ages. That but no, that this is God gifts. In factories, you cannot create an apple or grains. It's not possible. It's produced by nature. It's a gift of God. That and bottles, liquor shops, and so on. That our society becomes so degraded that I'm In Belgium, I'm traveling a lot by train. And now you see everywhere people who are taking drugs. And they are they're giving their injections just in public. They don't care anymore. And of course, this is not allowed, the use of drugs in Belgium, but the prisons are overfull. Anyway, that's a problem of the present society, that they are promoting activities in the modes of ignorance, that like slaughterhouses, brothels, liquor, if people are advised not to collect too many goods, eat too much, or work unnecessarily to possess artificial amenities, they think they are advised to return to a primitive way of life. But yes, everyone must have the latest automatic Hoover, so many things they are creating. But accepting plain living and high thinking. High thinking means thinking. The highest philosophy is the Krishna conscious philosophy. And if one is infected by the mode of passion and ignorance, one cannot understand this philosophy. It remains just practical, just theoretical. That to understand things as they are in the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned, one must act in goodness. In the mode of goodness, one sees things as they are. That seeing things as they are means seeing the spirit being in everyone's heart and relate to them as spiritual beings, not as bodies. That so means putting Krishna in the center of our relationships. But those who are too attached to this artificial way of life, their mind is too disturbed to become Krishna conscious. That it will not take place. That they are the whole day busy with giving pleasure to a body. They become the slave of their senses. That sometimes people say, "Oh, these Hare Krishnas are members of a sect. They have so many prohibitions. They cannot do what they want." But no, following these principles here in Nectar of Instruction, verse 2, is the way for freedom. But the freedom from the slavery to our mind and senses, which we are not. That this slavery is an unfortunate business, and that since many lifetimes we are doing that, giving pleasure to this body and these senses. And then at the end of life, what's our salary? What's our reward of serving these senses? The body says out, finished. That So that is the result. It's all endeavor for nothing. Because if we are too attached to this artificial way of life, we will not become Krishna conscious. This is what Prahlad Maharaj says to his father. Materna Krishna pratos fatova mito pipatyeti hiavatanam ananda gopir vishatam tamasam panaspana sarvananam. He says to his father in Hiranyakasipu, your inclination for Krishna consciousness will never be aroused, will never develop. Because why? Ananda Gopir. That your uncontrolled senses are leading you to hell, Tamishra. That's Punaspana Sarvata Sarvananam. It makes you do always the same stereotype activities. Always cooking the same thing, giving pleasure to the body by eating. That sex life, always the same thing. So this is the greatest slavery. And we should avoid to do activities which increases this dependence on the mind and the senses. Stop serving the mind and the senses and the body. But we serve Krishna. That's the message. We use the body, mind, and senses to serve Krishna. And we eat just to keep the body healthy for that service. Keeping that in mind. Because human life is meant for God realization. Can someone read this paragraph, please?
I would read it.
Thank you.
Human life is meant for God realization, and the human being is given higher intelligence for this purpose. Those who believe that this higher intelligence is meant to attain a higher state to follow the instructions of the Vedic literatures. By taking such instructions from higher authorities, one can actually become situated in perfect knowledge and give real meaning to life. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1 to 9, Sri Sutta Goswami describes the proper human dharma in this way. All occupational engagements, dharma, are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. The first step.
Thank you.
Okay.
So yes, that human life is meant for God realization. If we realize who God is, who Krishna is, we realize who we are. You cannot realize our own position if we don't realize what God is. But we can understand the position of the Supreme Lord that an animal cannot. And therefore the human being has higher intelligence that should be used to find out who are we, why are we suffering, what's the way out, why do I take birth again, why do I have to die. So the Vedic literature brings us to this higher state of life. Higher state of life that you have a gradual process. described by the Vedas and a direct process. The gradual process is called pravritti marg, and the direct process nivritti marg. Nivritti marg is the process of gradual elevation, first to the heavenly planets, and then to higher and higher planets, up to the planet of Brahma, Marloka, Satyaloka, Tapaloka, where the great yogis go. And then at the end of the creation, with Brahma, they enter the spiritual world, if Brahma is a pure devotee. But that's a very long process, pravritti marg, and very risky. Mostly, that doesn't happen. It becomes like a Ferris wheel. Sometimes up, sometimes down. Sometimes you take birth on the heavenly planets after having performed good deeds. If the credits of your good deeds are finished, you get again a lower grade body, a human or even an animal. So it's going up and down. And that is unfortunate. That is an unfortunate position. No, the real way out is nivritta marg, the path of renunciation. The real path of renunciation is Krishna consciousness, is understanding everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore we should use it in Krishna service. That understanding has these two parts. It belongs to Krishna, and therefore I use it in Krishna's service. So that is Krishna conscious understanding, or the complete renunciation. Incomplete renunciation is thinking it's not mine, it belongs to Krishna, okay, so I renounce it. But everything else is utility. So we should use it in Krishna's service. That's complete renunciation. And that's nivritta marg, Krishna conscious. If you act with that understanding, just use things in Krishna's service, then you don't get reactions. And you will become purified from previous reactions. And that is a deeper understanding of Krishna consciousness. And so that then we understand the real meaning of life is to get out and back to Godhead, back to our spiritual position, our eternal life. We are eternal, but we think we are the body. And by identifying with the body, we lose our awareness of the soul, of our eternity. Because there is no problem. For the soul, there is no birth or death. But we identify with what we are not. And we should not increase our disease, our fever. No, we should decrease it. And therefore, Sutta Goswami says, Dharmasya I aparvargasya nartaritaya kalpate nartasya dharmakantasya kamalavaya ismita. All occupational engagement are meant for ultimate liberation. So our occupational duty, that because this is a verse from the second chapter of the first canto, that before explaining the essence of Krishna conscious philosophy, Sutta Goswami says we should not do activities for sense gratification, but for liberation. And for liberation means acting with the understanding who Krishna is. We are his servants. Everything belongs to Krishna. So I use my body, mind, and senses in the service of Krishna. So we should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. Unfortunately, the entire world is busy with cultivating sense gratification. They call it so-called economic development. What is the result of their economic development? It's only suffering. That you see the smog in Delhi and in Pakistan is killing so many people. It's just these are the results of their Uga karma, and it comes back. That and it affects us. That simple things like fresh air to breathe, that or fresh fruits without chemicals and so on. You cannot get that these days anymore. It's all polluted. So what did we gain? That no, only suffering. That therefore this awareness is very important. That we should averse to use things for material gain. Always think, if I'm going to do something, how can I use this in Krishna consciousness? If you cannot use it in Krishna consciousness, don't do it. That's so one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational duty, dharma. What is this ultimate occupational duty? So Sutta Goswami explains, Savaipum saparo dharmo yato bhaktiya doksha ahaitkava apatiyata yayatma shupashidati. The ultimate occupational duty for the human being that is devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this should have two qualities. One should do it always, so never act for sense gratification. Do it always, uninterrupted, and only with the motivation to please Krishna, not for sense gratification. And then it will give happiness to the soul, great happiness, suprashidati. So if we are not feeling happy in our devotional service, then think, am I performing devotional service? Why am I doing it? To please Krishna or to get a happy life in this material world? Happy life in this material world is an illusion. It will not happen. Can someone read the next paragraph, starting with the first step and ending with animal society?
Yeah, I can do it, Maharaj. The first step in human civilization consists of occupational engagements performed according to the scriptural injunctions. The higher intelligence of a human being should be trained to understand basic dharma. In human society, there are various religious conceptions characterized as Hindu, Christian, Hebrew, Mohammedan, Buddhist, and so on. For without a religion, human society is no better than animal society.
Yes, that real religion is called dharma. Dharma means occupational duty. But dharma means what you cannot change. We are part and parcels of Krishna. You cannot change that. And we are meant to be connected with Krishna through devotional service. You cannot change that either. That's the only way to be happy. And that is our constitutional position. So that you cannot change. Like sugar is sweet, you cannot change it. That if sugar is not sweet, it's not sugar. That it must taste sweet. So the Dharma means what you cannot change. So that's the characteristic of a bona fide religion, is to promote service to God and to love God. This is what Srila Prabhupada many times said. A religion which has as aim to develop love for God is a bona fide religion. But a human society which is not fixed on that understanding that human life is meant to elevate oneself to God consciousness, is no better than an animal society. An animal cannot understand what God is, but we can. But if we are using our intelligence to live like animals, then we are wasting our human form of life and risking in next life to take rebirth in lower species. And that is the greatest unfortunate, because this human form of life you get only after many, many, many births. Many births in the lower species, you come healthy to the human form of life. And it is said, Astete dharmasya I apavargasya narto ritaya pakalpate. Religion is meant for attaining emancipation, not for getting bread. Sometimes human society manufactures a system of so-called religion for the purpose of true dharma. Religion entails understanding the laws of God, because the proper execution of these laws ultimately lead out of the material entanglement. That is the true purpose of religion. Unfortunately, people accept religion for material prosperity because of atyahara, or excessive desire for such prosperity. True religion, however, instructs people to be satisfied with the bare necessities of life while cultivating Krishna consciousness. Even though we require economic development, true religion allows it only for supplying the bare necessities of material existence. Jivasya Tattva Jnana, the real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. If our endeavor, prayas, is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritual aspirant should avoid mundane endeavor. So these laws of God, understanding the laws of God. If you endeavor for sense gratification, you get a reaction. And if you endeavor more than you need, the reaction will be suffering. Material nature is not going to cooperate with you. That suffering will come, now or later. And the cause is this over endeavor, that taking more than you need, this greediness. And it are all about artificial needs. We don't need these things. It's just complicating our lives, living simple. high thinking. So it's at your side, it must be 10 o'clock. Any last question or comment, please?
Hare Krishna. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to comment and say that I thought the point was very nice in referring to our constant need to serve the senses as slavery. I thought that was just a very impactful way of describing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Good. Then we will try to meet next week. But in a few hours, when you get up, 6:45, we have the Bhagavatam class today.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Maharaj.
Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhupada. His
Hare
Bhakti
Krishna.
Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.